So James, before you came on here, I looked up what this was. It's called MP1 nickel, but it's for the layman out there, they might not understand it. So could you explain what MP1 nickel is in plain English?
Yeah, yeah. So MP1 is the purity level that you'll see in the market. They have MP0, which is literally 99.9999% pure, and they'll use that in nuclear reactors, different applications like that.
Wow.
Mine is MP1, which is 99.90 to 99.99, that middle area. So it's extremely pure. But so that's the purity thing, the purity definition of MP1. Nickel wire is just how it's drawn. So they use nickel wire in hundreds of gauges. This is 0.025 millimeter or 25 microns. So it's literally, I've heard anywhere from a third to half the size of a human hair in diameter. And so what makes it so valuable, what makes it, the use of it is precision parts, whether it be a pacemaker, a microcoil that they use in other products. It has to be so pure that it doesn't break down. It conducts heat. So like one of the things like you'll see, like say you turn on your stove, sometimes it takes a second to heat up, and that's a lower gauge transmission of the energy of the electricity going through. When you have this pure of a wire, it's literally milliseconds of how fast it triggers. So they use it in thermostats. They'll use it, in aerospace. They use it in guidance systems. Even as far as like Raytheon, uses it in missiles. SpaceX uses it. One of the big pushes. So there's a lot going on right now. It blows me away because the uses of it, with how fast technology is advancing right now with AI, and all of a sudden data centers are going crazy, and guidance system, drones, everything is just advancing so fast, and there's actually a shortage. The supply can't keep up with the demand right now. So that's what's really exciting to me, but there's so many applications for it. That, this gauge of it, the 0.2 or 0.025 millimeter, it's used more in, semiconductors, where it's tiny little, bridges, bridging things together that need to make sure that they connect.
Well, it's interesting because, we always hear, about these types of manufacturing processes, and we always hear the end result, the final product. But a lot of people don't realize the supply chain that in the materials that go into these products. They hear rare earth metals, but they don't hear a specific one and how
you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the applications, it's, you've got an airplane up here, but there's 1,000 processes before that gets in the air.
Yeah.
And this is down, in one of the raw materials that you've got to have to make this one, to make that one, that goes into this one, that goes into that one. So that's been interesting because, I think that I've hit the person that uses it, and then they say, no, you got to go to this guy because
Right.
we get it already put together. It's like, so
I imagine you look at the world much differently now, because when you look at an airplane, you don't just see an airplane. You see all the little components, and then you see all the little pieces of metal that go into those little components.
Yeah.
It's just a more complicated world for you now, isn't
and
it?
it having to be validated. They have to validate that. And it's not just where it came from. Oh, did it come from the Czech Republic, or did it come from Russia or Indonesia? You also have to think about labor, laws. You have to think about, how this is a little off topic, but, one of the things that I've had to deal with is anti-money laundering guidelines,
Right.
because people will use this very valuable asset to transfer equity to someone else. and so that's something I've had to deal with, dealing with, it's called a KYC and an AML, verifying who I am, who my company is, where we got it from, where it's stored at, how we got it, transaction history, showing the money I mean, it's very, very, very controlled.
And did you ever think, because it's an international product now, and you're going cross borders and all over the world in all of these different industries, and you have so many different regulating bodies, not just on the countryside. You have the EU, you have, I'm sure the UN is part of this as well. I mean, it's a huge, huge deal to get
And who
through
you
all
can't
this.
sell to, who you
Right.
can sell to.
Yeah.
We're sitting in Vietnam right now. I didn't come here to start a business in Vietnam, but my brain never stops. And I started talking to people in the technology and the what is going on in the world with manufacturing and fintech. That's another
Yeah.
where this plays with tokenization and stable coins, real world assets. This is a real world asset sitting in a bank, sitting in a vault in Switzerland with an appraisal. If it were a house, it would be like, oh yeah, this is easy. But it's a strategic metal. There's controls